how would you like to encourage ladies that are scared
Mm.
of moving from the courses on hope at last over
Mhm.
to the abundant
Mhm.
life?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
because for me, by the time I finished with course 3, which was, but at that time it was Wise Women. It was
Right.
like a natural progression to just
Right.
move over to
Right.
it.
We spent so much time talking about the Restore Your Marriage book and staying there. But what I found is that women already have an obsession about husbands or men in their life, and especially a man who rejects you. That's
Yeah.
it's very difficult to, you just, you want to try and get that back. Something's, or if there's another woman, that's makes it even more intense. I'm going to try to get what's been stolen from me. So there's already this obsession. And what was happening when we were studying that book, is that women just stayed there, and they were suffering the whole time. And it
Mm.
was very sad. And I didn't have the answers. I was constantly going to my husband, what can I do? But it's always a journey, and it never moves as quickly as we want things to happen. Just looking in the whole Bible and how long they waited for the Messiah to come. And then even then it's like, you know, it's just
Mm.
taking forever to be what you hope it to be, but that's not always his plan. His plan is always better. That's a for sure, for sure. His plan is always better than even what you can imagine. But then, going through that, and then a Wise Woman, and then we had another course in between that kind of married that and kind of got into the Finding the Abundant Life. That's why I think course 2 that we used to have, was very powerful, because it just started to tap into the Finding the Abundant Life, and a Wise Woman. But how does it play out now is that, most people can read the Restore Your Marriage book in I've heard somebody said, oh, I read it in 3 hours. I thought, gosh, you're a fast reader. I don't think I could do that, But anyway, but over the course of 3 days or a week or something, they read it and reread it. And I think that that's just that balm, that renewing your mind from, here's the way the whole world thinks. This is what God thinks, because it's God's word. He's saying it. It's truth. And so, having that is very important, very important. It sends out hope. It brings people in, it changes their mind, it calms them. It's perfect. And then a Wise Woman, which the Restore Your Marriage book was out of that. It's really, what does God think about everything about a woman? We're a
Yeah.
woman first, or we're girls first, and now we're getting into the children's ministry, but we're women. The women that are coming are women first, but then, and then they're focused on this wife, or this estranged wife. What does he say about that? What does he say about, all authority over us, or the children, or having children, those later chapters? What is about encouraging? All of those were just kind of helping me to lay a foundation, because my upbringing, like everyone's, it's what are you taught from seeing your parents, your family. I have many older siblings, so they had marriages. I'm the 6th out of 7. So all not 6 out of or 5 older. One sister didn't marry, but the rest of them, I could witness those, some things, but I didn't know what's good. You could see the fruits of them, and I would watch the fruits. This marriage is happy because of this, and I saw those. But still, what does God say about it? And so that's what a Wise Woman is. He was just showing me straight from his word, this is how it is, and laying a foundation and rebuilding your life on what God says, not opinion, not my feelings, not on what socially is acceptable today. Because when I started the ministry, there was, even marriage was thought of, if somebody cheated on you back when the ministry was first started, if somebody cheated on you, do you know that nobody would ever let them back, even if they repented, even if they, if they just got caught, it was over. And if you, even the fact that I wanted my marriage restored, people were angered by that. Even in the church, even
Yeah.
the pastors in the church said, don't do it, you know? Not that it was just impossible to do, but don't do it. So it was a different time. So there's social norms over the years, but his word is saying, this is the way it is. It doesn't matter what's happening in the world. This is the way it is. And because this is the way I established it. And so learning about that, but, so those do play a part, but even whether you have a marriage or you don't, and that's why I like, there's a wise woman that's for singles or before marriage. It's kind of a culmination. It's really my favorite version of the wise woman, you know, because it just puts it all in perspective, and it's not on how to rebuild a broken marriage, you know, that sort of thing. And so, but the principles are there. So building upon that, but what gets you through, and for women, is the emotional. And that's what, you know, finding the abundant life is, you know, living it. How do you live out these things now that you've discovered them? And then, of course, because a lot of women, single parents, you know, the poverty mentality, you know, having the 6 children, and not only because my oldest son had moved out, but I was left with the 6 children. Plus I had my niece from Japan who was living with us. And on top of that, I was also helping to support my second oldest sister. She had been kind of dumped on me, you know, on top of all of this. I'm like, no, you know, but I didn't share, you know, that I was alone. And my ministry was well, it was in question whether it would even survive if my whole ministry is based on my restored marriage, and then it's not, or it got unrestored. It didn't get unrestored. It was restored. You know, you look in the Bible, and the Bible characters, they went through different journeys in their life. They weren't, you know, David was not always David who slayed Goliath. Everybody loves that, you know, but it later on, there's a lot more he goes through, you know, and you might like the child one, but you don't necessarily like all the paths that he went. But that's, you know, I mean, we had a Bathsheba, you know, that's what came, but that's the lineage of Jesus. So, you know, it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. His plan is perfect, whether you like it or not. And I think some people get fearful because they think, well, if I do what Erin did, this is what's going to happen to me, and I won't have that. No, he's going to give you the desires of your heart. And it's always been my heart to have him, just only him. I mean, I fell in love with my best friend, my betrothed, when I was 7 years old. I wanted to be a nun. You can see that in the salvation, you know, stories. I wanted to be a nun. Not because I wanted to wear a habit or do any, I had an encounter with the Lord, you know, it was our communion, and I invited him into my heart, and he became my best friend. And you can see those in the homegrown, but he became my best friend. I wanted to marry my best friend. I wanted to be, you know, and so I thought, well, it has to be a nun, until I found out they couldn't have children, because that was my other desire, to have a big family. I wanted babies. I wanted children. I wanted to raise them. I wanted all of that. And you know what? He's given me all of that. And, you know, it wasn't, I mean, I would love to have been, I always thought I'm going to be married. Once I understood submission to a husband, wow, is that fun? So easy. Dina, it's just a breeze. You don't have to think about anything. He makes a decision. Sure. You know, sure. I'm trusting you anyway, darling. You know, Lord, I'm trusting you. I don't need to worry about it. But I always thought, oh, if I just had that power. And then when you're given that power, it's like, whoa, this isn't easy. I really started to admire my former husband a lot more. This is tough, you know, when I had the 6 children and my niece, and then you know, it was all with me. But then I started to see, well, no, this is better. But I just had to rely upon, my husband more, which is always a good thing, so navigating through all of that. But the journey to build a ministry is much different than somebody who comes later and it's all constructed. You don't have to come and live in a tent like I did, or live out under the stars like I did, and wrestle with God like I did, just like Jacob has the thing with his hip. I always joke, because I had an accident when I was in high school that just dislocated my hip. So I have a weakened hip, and so I just joke, it's like wrestling with God. That's what happens with you, that dependency. But I think it's just the way that it all works together for good. Why camp? Why do that when you can stay in a luxury, high-rise resort? I live in a resort right now. My husband and I do, which is just a crazy thought. But he just wants to bless you. And you know about this, Adina, because you're living it. I know it from your life. I love your novels. I have got to know you through those, and just am in total awe. And to see it happening, not just for me, it can happen for anyone. And you can read it in praise reports, the praise, posted praise, when all of a sudden women, transfer over. Well, you can hear it in her voice. Janine, she's known him for a long time. She's kind of parallel with Yvonne, but she was hesitant. She thought we were crazy. And quite frankly, we are a bit, it's crazy. And yet it's not crazy, not at all. And you go, wow, and the motivator can just be that pain or tiredness. It just comes down to asking him, just if you want me to be. That's one of my favorite things. When I used to travel and speak, I was always saying, just talk to God, even if you don't believe him, in him. You're atheist. I love get in a taxi. Oh, I'm an atheist. Great. Let's talk, and talk, you don't believe, I don't believe in God. Well, that's fine. Have you ever told him, if you're real, show me. That's all that's necessary. And some that I stayed in touch with, I had a interpreter in Portugal, or in Brazil, and the husband of the wife who just happened to step in, and he, said, what do you mean you talk to God? Yeah. How can I do that? Just talk to him, and just say. And then I found out he was an atheist, he thought, married to this Christian interpreter. But just so as a bride, just say, do you want me to be your bride? I think I didn't hear it firsthand. I heard it through Yvonne, but I think that Janine said something, is this what you want? But just talk to him and say, do you want me to do this? How can I do it? Just show me. I want to do this. Or just, I want what, like my one sister, I want what Erin has, or I want the relationship that Erin has with you. Anything. Just talk, just talk to him and just tell your heart and let him do it all. And you'd be amazed. And that would be a wonderful start to your relationship, because you can do it about everything, if you want me to stay here, if you want me to move, if you want me to buy this car, if you want me to do, then make it happen. And it just puts it all on him. And then you can just sit in awe and then share how that happened. And those testimonies will help women to either know him or come to know him more or more deeply. I think that's what it's all about. And you can just be that ambassador, for him and his bride, I'm sure you have other questions.
Please visit us on loveatlast.org for more life-changing courses, or visit encouragingbookstore.com to buy the Abundant Life series of books and many more.